Lyric stood at the edge of Mars's Olympus Mons, staring at the boundless stretch of red grit that spanned beyond the horizon. Below her feet, the Martian crust hummed subtly, the pulse of a planet quietly rippling underneath its craggy skin. As a planetary ethnomusicologist, her role was to understand this hum, the sonic properties, the vibrations, the rhythm that separated Mars from other celestial echoes. Yet, it was the artificial reverb back at the colony that had consumed her fascination now. A symphony, resonating each night, sung by the youngest members of the isolated biosphere. The babies of the colony sang a lullaby, a tune unfamiliar, moonlit, ethereal, comprised of planetary whispers no human chord had ever strummed before. Lyric had recorded this nocturnal symphony for weeks, intrigued by the uniformity across infants, and gripped by an innate sense that these verses held more than what met the ear. She turned from the bleak landscape, the setting sun casting elongated shadows across the alien terrain, and trudged back to the plexi-domed settlement. As she plunged into the lumen-lit labyrinth of the colony, the hush of impending nightfall cast its blanket, and the infant lullaby began to swell through the interconnected dwellings. A soft knock echoed through Cadence's chambers, the resident astrophysicist. Lyric pushed the door panel, finding him immersed in a catalytic sea of interstellar calculations. "There's a cosmic rhythm more urgent than star trajectories," she quipped without waiting for a greeting. Cadence, a man of equations and numbers, quirked a brow at the ethereal thinker Lyric, but gestured for her to proceed. Behind her crisp professionalism, Lyric cupped an invisible ball of absurdity. She played the recordings of the lullabies, watched Cadence's inbuilt skepticism dissolve, and explained her hypothesis. The lullaby and the geophysical shifts on Mars coincided inexplicably, yet undeniably. Mars was a cold and distant siren, beckoning humanity with a promise of survival beyond their own wilting home. The terraformation, the engineered atmosphere, the colonists who had left their home, taking a one-way trip towards uncertainty, the infants conceived in alien cradles, all of it was an emblem of human perseverance. But Lyric's calculations seemed to add another actor to this interplanetary drama. She reckoned this was no ordinary lullaby, but an unconscious anthem, tying the infants to the planet's geological tremors and atmospheric fluctuations, conjuring a link between the terraformed and the terraformers. As her theory unfurled, Cadence followed her thread, a thin line strung between the precipice of impossibility and scientific deduction. He watched the overlay of her sonic algorithms on his own geological readings. Points lined up with daunting precision, the murmurs of an eerie musicology that seemed to be both the symptom and crescendo of the changes on Mars. Under the colossal Martian sky, within the transparent carapace of human ingenuity and survival instincts, the last note of the nightly lullaby echoed. A silence fell, but within it hummed 1,000 questions. Lyric looked at Cadence, her eyes mirroring the cosmic enigma they stood on the cusp of. As scientists, they were committed to evidence, but dedication to unraveling extraordinary puzzles was the melody of their lives. And this wordless lullaby by babies born on the red planet, harmonizing nighttime serenades in sync with Mars, was the most extraordinary puzzle of all. If Mars were truly singing back, what was the song of this new home? Was it a warning, a plea, or a gentle welcome resonating in the innocent throats of the infants? The seeds of this investigation had been planted in a world where Earth's lullabies had lulled them to sleep, to wake up to a reality that was perhaps as much Martian as it was human. The first part of their journey into the unknown had begun. And it began, paradoxically, not in the vast, silent expanse of Olympus Mons or the frigid Martian valleys, but in the nestling warmth of cradles rocking under the alien constellations. For the real pulse of Mars, it seemed, resided not in its scarlet soil, but in the tranquil notes of its midnight sons and daughters. As the duet of curiosity and hypothesis played on in their minds, they set out to unravel a reality where the alien wasn't just the reddened soil or thin atmosphere, but the strange nocturnes sung in the heart of their human haven, ringing in the air dome's farthest corners, echoing across the vast expanse of the great Martian landscapes. Their quest to decipher this cosmic lullaby had begun, under a distant sky studded with familiar constellations, albeit from an unfamiliar vantage point. A lullaby from home, in a place they were just beginning to call home. When Lyric woke the next morning, her dreams were still echoing with the infant's serenade, subtly intertwined with the silent hum of the Martian rhythm. The riddle they faced was enigmatic, but behind the wrought gossamer of unfathomable melodies, a sense of significant discovery loomed. On her way to join Cadence, she walked past the still drowsy Martian colonists going about their morning routine. She saw the infants, the inadvertent center of her fervor, wrapped in their mother's arms, oblivious of her intense scrutiny. But as she watched, she noticed the tranquil understanding in their fissured iris, almost as if mirroring the plains and craters on the Martian surface. Raw, new, and cryptic. In Cadence's chamber, glowing holoscreens painted an unpredictable melody rendered in waveform, the infant's song overlaid with the fluctuating geological shifts. Even to an untrained eye, it was evident the peaks and valleys of the two graphs danced in synchronized harmony. The day passed in a blur of analytical investigations, with the duo meticulously mapping each occurrence of the enigmatic lullaby with corresponding Martian changes. Each alignment brought them a step closer to an unfathomable revelation. Earthlings born on Mars, entwining their birth song with the very cosmic heartbeats of an alien planet. Meanwhile, the phenomena outside their laboratory didn't slow. Each night, the lullabies triggered changes with an increasing rhythmic intensity. The metamorphosis of Mars silently chased the daylight, swept across ravines and plains, rearranging the landscape without disrupting the life within the plexidome. Various theories started to circulate within the colony, each more puzzling than the last. Rumors whispered of an endearing term, starlings, borrowed from a branch of Earth's migratory biota, bestowed upon the newborns whose lullabies echoed the stellar enigma. In the midst of this unprecedented happening, the colony leaders held an emergency confluence. The terraformers had a deep understanding of the planet's heartbeat, but this melody was a cryptic conundrum. Suddenly, the musicologist and the astrophysicist found themselves sought for answers, their niche expertise the only beacon in an uncharted orchestra. Lyric and Cadence shared their findings, their voices bouncing in the silent void of awestruck listeners. The correlations, a melody between humans and an alien terrain plucked on the cosmic strings, drew gasps of disbelief. But the undeniable data, spelling out a wordless song, formed a synchrony too visceral to refute, subtly marking the line where fiction became fact. At night, the lullabies wafted through the colony's sleeping quarters once again. But this time, a reverberating awareness hummed along. Now, parents held their starlings closer, listening intently to the midnight symphony, their hearts resonating with a harmonious blend of awe, affection, and a subtle tremor of concern. Meanwhile, Lyric and Cadence listened with newfound determination. Their analysis had set a celestial ball rolling, but they were far from deciphering the true essence or the extent of what these lullabies could unfurl. They had merely introduced the colony to the first act of an alien sonata. Their exploration was far from over. If anything, the overture had just begun. Lyric was caught mid-thought when Cadence interrupted her mental soliloquy. His eyes, reflecting the hollow glow of myriad celestial charts, hinted at a spark of epiphany. He nudged her to the holoscreen where the waveform of the lullaby fluttered like a spectral tapestry. Its rhythm, at first glance random, now held a discernible pattern, a cosmic strophe woven into the Martian lullaby, obscured by data, hidden in lullabies, but quietly pulsing underneath all along, was the rhythm of an ancient, extinct civilization of Mars. Whispers turned into a full-blown choir of astonishment in the colony. The midnight tunes were not just resonating with the planet's geological shift, but resurrecting a Martian symphony lost in time, now sung unknowingly by human infants. An eerie melody carried forward by a forgotten civilization was echoing through Martian landscapes, resonating in the alien wind, and born anew in the cradle songs of starlings. The colony now chattered with awestruck voices, mired in a mix of disbelief and acceptance. Humanity stood at the precipice of knowledge, an anonymous past, and a riveting, unforeseen possibility. The silence of lifelessness was giving way to a forgotten song, the symphony of an age-old Martian civilization. The revelation didn't just reinstate Lyric and Cadence as the forerunners of this investigation, but also placed the gravity of the emerging reality on their shoulders. Their work had bridged the intimidating silence between planetary understanding and the unearthly lullaby, unveiling a lost chapter of the cosmos that no human, until then, had fathomed. Lyric could hear the nightly lullaby filling the interconnected corridors. The difference was, now she could recognize the characteristically alien melody woven subtly into it, the poetic echo of Martian civilization lost in time. The infants, each unaware in their innocence, were the inconspicuous bard of this forgotten tale. Cadence watched the waveform dance in rhythm to the unborn past, the interconnected peaks and troughs singing tales of the extinct life. Long gone, maybe wiped out, but their last echo, their civilization's legacy, had been embedded into the planet's existence itself, and now stirred awake by the starling's lullaby. Outside their plexidome, Mars seemed to hum in unison with the tune of its revival. The long-forgotten song it had cradled in its bosom now filled the alien air. The starlings sang an ageless tune as Mars began to awaken, shifting, breathing, and resonating to its ancient self. The revelation sent a tremor through their minds, pulling the complacent rug of understanding from under their feet. Buried beneath the red dust was an encompassing echo of existence that had now found its way to the lullabies of the infants born on foreign soil. It was an implication far more profound and perplexing than they could have imagined, and pushed them into a new phase of this cosmic riddle. The Martian dawn broke out in its usual lackluster manner, the dim, frosted sunlight washing over the sprawling, plexi-domed settlement. But the colony was anything but usual now. Whispers of the Martian legacy emerged from the chambers, growing into full-throated discussions in the central halls and laboratories, becoming the pulse against which life now throbbed within the human haven. The discovery of the extinct civilization's echo had pulled Lyric and Cadence beneath an unexpectedly reverential spotlight. The tenure of their investigation had strummed both awe and impending dread into the heart of the community. Every corner of the community echoed with newfound questions, their daily life humming with an unseen undercurrent of anticipation and anxiety. It was here, amid this stilled breath of anticipation, the division surfaced, a divergent belief in the interpretation of the Martian lullaby's repercussions. A group firmly believed in intervention, advocating that this alien melody triggering Mars's transformation was a subtle warning of a potential threat lurking in the shadows of this optimistic symphony. Opposing them stood Lyric, Cadence, and those who believed in coexistence. For them, the Midnight Symphony was not an ominous chant of destructive upheaval, but a hymn of welcome, an initiatory melody fostering a relationship between the colonists and the dormant memories of Mars. Between the fractures of speculation, fear, and contemplation, the infants, now with a voice in the silent symphony of the colony, carried on their lullaby with serene obliviousness, nursing the celestial seeds within their cradles, sprouting new roots in the alien soil. Cadence and Lyric found themselves at the forefront of an unexpected debate. As the proponents of uninterrupted exploration, they tried to smoothen the edges of mounting fear, emphasizing the melody's harmonious tune rather than subverting it to an impending din of destruction. Parallelly, they plunged even deeper into untangling the celestial enigma. The nights held more profound meaning now, pregnant with the lilt of the starling's hymn, cocooned in a fervent dread of an unsuspected event, and fueled by an adamant pursuit of understanding the symbiotic dance between the foreign terrain and its new inhabitants. The dichotomy was as stark as the difference between Martian days and nights. As the sun dipped beneath the vast alien horizon, the starling's lullaby would unfurl a sonata, a song as old as Martian dust itself. Meanwhile, Lyric and Cadence would lose themselves within the discord and harmony of this ancient rhythm, racing against time, straining to decipher, unveil, and if possible, understand the duality of their existence in the virgin soil of the Red Planet. The Martian night had engulfed the day, casting enormous shadows and a chill that swept through the plexi-domed colony. The anticipation within the colonists' hearts mirrored the outside atmosphere, unsettling and subdued. As the familiar lullaby once again murmured through the night, Lyric and Cadence huddled around the holoscreen, their faces bathed in the iridescent screen's light, gnawing at the last knots of the deciphering task. As they worked in the hum of silence, their eyes glued to the data patterns, something shifted, a ripple in the sequence. Everyone felt it, a subtle change in the Tritonian air within the habitat, a distinctive shift in the lullaby. The harmony seemed to rise, the melody appearing to peak somewhere, bearing down upon an unknown pinnacle of revelation. Gasps echoed from the nursery as the lullaby swelled into a crescendo, reverberating in every corner of the habitat, the infants' harmonious voices merging, undulating like the red dunes outside. Then, in perfect synchronization with the last echoing note of the lullaby, the humming Martian surface outside held its breath and transformed. From their viewing chamber, Lyric and Cadence watched a Martian spectacle unfold. The Martian plains swelled, the crest gradually split open like a blossoming flower, and from within emerged structures, spires, and edifices. Beautiful and weather-beaten, truly Martian, resonating with the warmth of the forgotten melody the starlings had sung. Their lullaby had not merely connected with the planet, but awakened its ancient heritage. Amid the gasps and murmurs, the last vestiges of the melody still echoing within the plexidome, Lyric and Cadence shared a look of understanding. The revelation was overwhelming, staggering all into a stunned silence. The lullaby hadn't been a threat, but a welcome song, a cradle chant for Earthlings' adaptation to Martian life. The living Mars, awakened by the lullaby, seemed to stretch out beneath the nocturnal dome, a hitherto silent participant, animated into a dance of a mutely hummed song. The starlings had not only incited the Martian legacy to life, but unveiled a compass to coexist peacefully. Outside, Mars seemed to breathe anew, transforming yet tranquil, bearing a legacy of the past and upholding a promise of future, harmonious existence. In their Eden of alien land, humanity stood hand in hand with the relics of a forgotten world, the alien now humming inside their lullabies, the symphony reaching its harmonious pinnacle under the foreign constellations. The revelation sent ripples of excitement, relief, and a whole new wave of anthropological curiosity. It ushered in the new understanding that their presence on Mars was not merely to exist, but to assimilate into the symphony of the fading Martian history, to entwine their lives around the threads of an extinct civilization, and carry forward an ancient heritage in their growth. Their identity was not just that of a colonist anymore, but also a bearer of Mars's ancestral song. As the exhaustion of the revelation seeped away, replaced by hushed bellows of celebration, Lyric and Cadence traced the entire spectacle from their chamber. They'd not only ushered humanity to Mars, but also unearthed an ancestral symphony spanning eons. They looked on as outside, under the Martian night, the evidence of a life past reflected back their triumph, their hearts humming in harmony with the intertwining melody of earthly metal and ageless Martian legacy.